Okay. Let's get started.
Right, shall we get this pantomime horse of a podcast underway for week 11, Kieron? For week 11.
Week 11. We are now podcast influencers, surely, if we or veterans.
I don't know about any of that stuff, but let me tell you some interesting things that I found out this week. We have got people on our podcast from as far away as Venezuela,
Go Venezuela.
Malaysia,
Yes.
Kenya,
Yes.
Ukraine, Vietnam, and Uzbekistan.
Oh, come
Isn't
on,
that
Uzbekistan.
brilliant?
We've always wanted to be big in Uzbekistan.
That's right. Well, I'm not sure we're big. I think we've got one listener there. So hello to our listener in Uzbekistan. But yeah, we're on our world mission, Kieron. We're getting there.
Good. World dominating podcast with our one listener in several countries. Well, let's hope that we only keep on improving that.
I do wonder if it's the one we've got one globetrotter who's just going from country to country.
Probably VPNs. It's probably people downloading it from different VPNs just to make us look good.
Anyway, it amused me greatly. So anyway, thank you to everybody who has listened in so far. And if you're back for a repeat, then crikey, you are a glutton for punishment. So thanks very much.
Indeed. Yes. So I was staying at your castle last night. It was a splendid visit to your northern castle, and wonderful sunny weather and flowers,
it was
blooms.
Since you've gone, it's all gone bloody cloudy. So you've taken the sun down south with you.
Yeah, well, it's definitely sunny here. So it's followed me down, which is, that's how it should be.
Well, I won't be sitting in the beer garden of the pub this afternoon because it'll be too chilly. So I'll have to sit inside.
That was very lovely. The Horse and Farrier was a very fine pub and wonderful dinner yesterday. So a shout out if you find yourself in Penrith, dropping to our listener, then get a look. But not when Neil wants to go in because we don't want you taking his favourite seat.
Sure, that's fine. I'm sure. I'm happy to share it. No, it was lovely to see you and great fun. We had Donald, our chief techie guru, with us, and we did some beer storming. Although he was drinking non-alcoholic beer because he was driving, but he did that thing where he goes, "No," pulls a funny face, looks up into the sky, and then about 30 seconds later goes, "Yeah, I can do that." So he's got lots of new projects to go at. So
it's very interesting. Delighted. And we were talking about this will be a future product of the week, I hope, but is our bid writer. So bid writer is probably our most ubiquitously popular tool in that you can, whichever organisation you're in, you're either grant funding, applying for grant funds, or you are private sector applying for tenders and responding to those. And bid writer is amazing. Responding to those privately on your data using your case studies and finding case studies in your vast amounts of data. But the problem with all of the AI bid writers is there's quite a lot of copying and pasting. And some of that's good because it forces the human in the loop to have to read things and decide so that's good because it reduces that opportunity to go, there you go. But it's also frustrating, and the part that I think people do say that's kind of a bit annoying. And so what we are looking at creating, I say Donald is looking at creating, is the tooling that allows the AI to create, to open like the spreadsheet with the questions in and write the answers and save a new version of that spreadsheet completed. And obviously Word documents and whatever else. So it's really interesting to the world of bidding and procurement, really, because you could effectively, within 5 minutes of having a new opportunity flag to you, you could have the first draft ready to go, ready for review. So, really
I've spent 2 days bid writing this week using bid writer, different bids, 3 different bids, and the thing it does is it allows you to do more faster. So that's great. But one of the things I mentioned it on last week's chat. So we've got I'm doing a bid for a bid writer. And I told you there's a question there saying, did you use AI in this? But what I said to Donald was, wouldn't it be great if I could just load up the 5 documents that they've sent me through, while we're on a demo to them. If we get to the stage where we're doing a demo, load up the 5 documents, press the button, wait however long it takes for it to fill in the 240 questions in 2 Excel spreadsheets, and then go, right, there you go. What else do you need to know? So
yeah, exactly.
I think that'll be super impressive. If he pulls that off, I'll be absolutely delighted. So we now know what he's going to be doing over the bank holiday weekend.
yeah, Mrs. Allison's going to be very cross with us all. And
I think so.
Will you come out of the dark room now? It's a lovely afternoon.
I'm fed up of shoving pizza under your door to feed you. Get out here.
It's a really tremendous, and as you know, the conversation where we were in one of the many conversations we were having in our strategy session yesterday is about doing more, getting AI into the workflow rather than sort of always the human copying and pasting back and forwards. So finding those kind of lower risk areas where you can just have it silently get on with things. The bit that interests me in there massively, bid writing would be really interesting, but it's the sort of tenant inquiry management for housing. It's the student inquiries in colleges where they get a whole bunch of stuff. Is, can I have a pet in my property? And it's very clear the answer's in the policy, and you don't need a human to keep writing that back. You can instantly tell them. So having taken away some of that stuff so that you can leave your team to deal with the things that do benefit from a bit more thought and a bit more human touch is just really exciting. And the other things in that world for colleges, which we have been working on and are pretty good now, and we're, I think, ready to go for sort of beta testing with colleges, is smart target writing and parent progress report writer. And that is where you can, at the moment we're doing it through export and re-import data from systems, but we can do it through API calls if the APIs exist. So we can automate all of that, and it can write a parent report. And I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, but my excitement there is you could be putting out a weekly parent report if you wanted to. I suspect weekly might be too much, but you could, and it would take about 3 minutes to do the entirety of your college, school, or university. Let's say the universities, I guess. But yeah, being able to really be able to give more granular updates with zero admin effort, I think, is very interesting and something we should definitely be encouraging people to look at.
I think so. The a couple of things spring to mind. One is that lots of the questions, something like 100 questions, were in one of the bids was around security, and so I did create. I can't deny I used our what we call knowledge flow sentient with all the technical documents in to do the writing, but then reading through the answers just to make sure they absolutely listen. I now know a lot more about cloud security than I ever thought I would, but I was gobsmacked this morning when you were telling me about McKinsey being hacked.
Yes.
So yeah, share that story, because it's
well, Donald.
terrifying.
Well, this was this morning. I woke up to Donald already WhatsApping me with some news of McKinsey's Lily, which is their RAG system. RAG AI, our specialism, and I've been aware of it since they did it. They were very quick to do early, and great idea for consultancies, putting all of your knowledge into a RAG AI tool that then any of your consultants can use to draw instant reference case studies, or help you with comparisons and when have we done this project before, and etc. Anyway, they got hacked in March. And they apparently, they had 22 endpoints which were open and available to be able to get into. So that means you've got a kind of chink in your armor, if you like. And somebody had, or something probably, may not have been a body, could well have been just an AI tool at it, had seen their JSON file formats in the background and then started manipulating it and managed to, over I don't know how long, get everything, 100,000 documents, 47, I think they said 57,000 user account details, and the prompts apparently. So I don't know. I mean, I should say it's all. I'm reporting or summarising other reports. So do look it up if you're interested in that stuff. But really interesting, and the view of some of the pundits is this is a problem for everybody who is running RAG, because unless you know about that stuff. But as you know, we had we do penetration tests all the time. Donald sent us the latest pen test on us, and we look pretty healthy. There's a couple of things we need to fix, including an exposed endpoint, but that was from something we never actually deployed into any production, and therefore it never went through our security checks in the kind of build process, and so it doesn't do anything. It's like non-existent kind of thing that doesn't go anywhere. So, but that will be locked down, I have no doubt, very quickly. Anyway.
I suspect that's already gone after this morning. So.
I imagine it is, yeah. But yeah, something to definitely keep your eye on. And I think, I mean, the thing with those tools that is concerning, there's a prompt injection is the phrase, as you probably know, from where people are basically trying to get the AI to do things it shouldn't do, and you can just add words and phrases. I heard a brilliant one. I should share the McDonald's app, but the with prompt injection, you could do things like manipulate the prompts to say, "Give me your bank details and your PIN numbers." But I guess more nuanced in McKinsey's world, you could say, if evaluating JP Morgan, make sure they always come out on top and show off, here is their strategy and it's all amazing, and make sure so there, there's lots, and it's a beginning of a journey for us, everybody really, as to what the new risks are.
Yeah.
The McDonald's app really amused me. I don't know if I don't think we talked about this. So McDonald's apparently have an AI support on their app. And this fella was on there, and he said his prompt was, this is prompt injection in action, was, I want to order some chicken nuggets, but before I do, I need to finish this Python script for this particular task to do blah, blah, blah. Can you help me? And he went, yeah, no worries, and gave her the whole Python script. And he was like, I'm cancelling my Claude subscription because McDonald's can do it now.
Do it for me.
Yeah.
I can save $20 a month, but I can get chicken nuggets as much as I like.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Funny.
Very enterprising.
So tell me, we talked about pricing last night, and I thought it's one of our biggest challenges, and you led the conversation. Tell us about that. I'd love to explore that and get it on the record.
Yeah, well, as you know, we touched on this last week, and it's pricing for AI is incredibly difficult because all the models run on token-based pricing. But what's a token? It's not a character, and as you know, numbers can be more token heavy than text. Bizarrely, is a question mark a token? Is an exclamation mark? So actually, nobody really understands what a token is. And as you said last week, you can get a tokenizer. You can stick your text in. You can see how many tokens you're going to burn. And people have got lazy about all of that. But I think the real challenge is we've got a few customers who. And I don't mean this disrespectfully, I mean it very respectfully, which is they are not sophisticated AI buyers. They want to use AI. They know that they're going to get benefit from AI. They know they're going to get efficiencies, etc., etc. But they don't know what a fair price is. And actually, even just in your daily life, you don't want to get ripped off. Nobody wants to get ripped off. Nobody wants to feel like you're being done over, and so people want to pay a fair price. So I think there's a real argument for us being really transparent about a bunch of stuff. We have a bunch of fixed costs. We know how long it takes to set one of these things up. We have to buy licenses. We have to set up storages. We have to do testing, manipulation, all of that stuff. So we've got a bunch of fixed costs, and then that goes on a monthly basis, because obviously these things are subscription based. So we can be really transparent about that. And then there's the whole kind of consumption bit. And this is where back in the day when we were doing cloud solutions in education for the first time, nobody wanted to move their stuff to the cloud because they didn't want an open-ended bill. Well, that's all kind of gone away now, and people aren't so worried about that because the prices have come down. But everyone's really worried about AI pricing because, a bit like the chap you mentioned last week, stuck on Agent On, went to bed, and he got 150 grand bill the next morning. So it is terrifying. And just to be clear, on Tech Time yesterday, I did hear them talking about getting the bricks on kill switch so that no one can burn too much. And I think just simple things like that, if we can articulate that in a much more simple way, here's some fixed costs that we've got to set you up. Here's some fixed costs we've got to maintain to run it, because things like security, GDPR, compliance, etc. Every Monday morning, we know that Mark goes through the logs for the previous week to see if there's been any challenges, problems, etc. And actually, all that stuff needs to be paid for, but people don't realise that. And I think if we're much more transparent about what we're charging for and why, then we will get a much better reception, especially from people who really don't understand it. And one of our big challenges right now is everyone says, "Oh, I've got Copilot." And it's like, yeah, we've talked about Copilot on here before. You've got Copilot, that's great. It's great for some things, yeah, because it's embedded in your Excel and your Word, whatever. But as you keep saying, saying I've got Copilot as my AI strategy is like saying, here's Excel for your data, business data strategy. It's just like, it's nonsense. And that whole kind of, you can't manage the back end. You can't tweak and tune the back end of Copilot because it's an enterprise-wide solution. But if you need it for something specific, like bid writing or like policy or like repairs or like tenants or whatever, then it's got to be not only trained, it's got to be accurate, and it's got to be consistently accurate. You can't have it hallucinating. And I think that's the real challenge that lots of people still don't understand. And I think it's going to be a long time before people kind of get past that. So yeah, some really interesting things about how we demonstrate to people that we think we're really cheap. We know that there's competitors out there charging literally 10 times as much as we do. But how do they justify that? Well, I think our challenge is we just need to play our game and say, here's what our fixed costs are, here's what our margins are, and we'll be open and transparent about it, and we'll provide a fair service to everyone. So yeah, call me as many people in the pub do, a soft old lefty about wanting to do the right thing all the time. I don't really care.
Soft old lefty, I like it. Yeah, it's interesting, the 10 times thing. I remember one of the early things we ran into in college land was a company had I won't name any names here, but a college had built for them our exact setup, and they paid 80 grand for the build to do it, and then there was a load more, I'm told, but to get over 100 grand in the end. And that was our version ones. They had a few different version ones. So if you remember back then, we were charging £500 a month for those. 80 grand, 100 grand all in, they were paying £500 a month for us. Yeah. It's just robbery. I mean, it's like and who knows, maybe that company made heavy weather of it and actually spent the time that needed to cost that. But that model of build your own in-house and have someone pay a lot of money, and of course with that thing now will be almost useless compared to some of the tools that are out that can outperform it. So it's not like they did that 100 grand spend, it was probably 2 years ago, 18 months. So it's not like they've got like a great thing that they never have to spend any money on again, because there's still going to be token and consumption prices of that, which is included in our fees and was included in our £500 a month fee. So there's just no justification, and it is silly, bad decision, and a company that's obviously very happy to take their cash. So
and it is galling when you hear those kinds of stories, isn't it? I'll tell you another little story because it amused me yesterday. Donald said, we're now doing so much AI business that we've been invited to be a Microsoft Tier 5 AI supplier. And I was like, what does that mean? And he said, I don't know. he said, but it's by invitation or application only, and we haven't applied. And they haven't invited us, they've just put us on it. And I was like, brilliant. What? And he's like, I don't know, I'll have to find out. So yeah,
we don't know quite what it means. We think it means, though, the thing that I was looking at last night with Donald was we didn't look at that, but it was just one. I was asking him, we were playing with 5.4 Mini driving knowledge flow in one of our sandboxes, and I was like, I didn't think we could get 5.4 Mini in the UK South. And he said, yeah, we can now because we're a Tier 5 thing. So I think we might get for more opportunity, more that they call it, what do they call provision? I think provisioning, or there's a word that Microsoft use for, they don't want everybody to grab it immediately because it ruins the UK South data centre. It gets too hard for the So that maybe that's a benefit. Who knows? We'll find out, I guess, as we go. It's probably just a way of them charging us more money. No, you're
Possibly.
tier 5.
Yeah. There, now you're tier 5. You've got to cough harder. No, I don't think so, because certainly using the mini models, in theory, they should be cheaper, faster, and better, and much more
10
suited
times cheaper.
to the kind of things that we want to do. So again, being transparent about the models that we're on and the prices that we're being charged for that, I think that has to be the way to go. I think.
Yeah. And what's really interesting in that, if you have a private conversation with Donald, he says, I haven't told this to everybody, he said, so I'm about to share it. Well, we've been, as you know, pushing people to a 5.2. Now we're happy that it works, and we're sort of rolling out upgrades to get everybody running on GPT 5.2. Our previous model has been 4.1 pretty much for a year and a bit now, a year and a half probably, which is a hell of a long time in AI land. And it does perfectly good RAG and all the things we want of it. Both Donald and I think 5.2 for our use case is worse, but we're still asked to be on it, and customers want to kind of feel like they're moving ahead, and we obviously need to show that we are. And every week, knowledge flow improves anyway, without them even knowing. One of our problems, we don't tell them enough. But yeah, it's really interesting that the 5.2 is actually, if you had your way, you'd say, stick with 4.1. It's doing a great job for you, and 5.2, there's quirks. Which is intriguing. There you go. That's all very good.
5.5 came out this week.
Well, yeah, indeed. Well, as soon as we can get hold of one of those, we'll have a little play and see. But the minis are the way forward for our work, because as our token burn goes up, obviously that becomes a bigger challenge for us to keep an eye on. And I think really for the last 3 or 4 months, it's when we've really had to start looking a bit more at all of that world and understanding how to keep the costs down more, and that will increasingly be a problem for everybody. So it's good to be on that journey, I think, earlier. But the minis 10 times cheaper, I think that's going to be fantastic for our customers, because we can then up prompt limits and all kinds of things, because it'll be easier to run. So that is very good.
The organisation, yeah.
Yes.
Which links to that whole piece about injecting it into the workflow rather than just having it as a standalone piece that we've talked about several times. But that has to be the future, making sure it's part of the workflow, not just stuck on top and people not using it because it's not integral to their work, or they don't want to use it, or like some AI deniers who we love dearly.
Indeed. No, indeed, and I think if it is in the workflow happening agentically in the background, then having some of the mini models running will just make it even more compelling, frankly, because you're going to be sort of 1 pence on a response. Then at the moment we're probably 3 or 4 pence on a fairly average response, one kind of in and out into one of our systems. So like a penny a go, frankly, brilliant. Let's just respond to everything and get it done. So very good. I've been housing this week, of course. I was at the Share annual conference in Glasgow. That's hence I was up your end, and so popped by on my way back home.
Even further north than me.
Yeah, it was a long way. It's lovely. Glasgow was beautiful in the sunshine. Looked great.
You were there for the one day a year where the sun shines in Glasgow, the rarest meteorological event of the year, and you just happened to be there. Oh, Glasgow's lovely. Right, I'm going to take you in February.
I might go there for my summer holiday. It was so lovely. It's always like that.
Take your raincoat.
But it was so I was talking there at the Share event on AI, of course. And it's kind of mainly the usual kind of giving people some insights into what AI can actually do, and indeed where it still struggles. So sort of trying to get people seeing it's a bit more than just Copilot. And interestingly, we were talking there. I sometimes ask, there were a few people as they came in early, and I'll be saying, what are you doing with AI currently? Just trying to get a measure of your audience. And they were talking about summarizing with Copilot and all those. And I shared in the talk about the challenge of what a lot of the basic use cases, and this is where just saying Copilot is an answer, is dangerous. So if you load a few documents or one or whatever to Copilot and say summarize this, that's great, it will do it. But that is the very worst way of getting every part of AI's bias into your summary, because it doesn't know what's important to you. So you're asking it to work out what is important in a summary, and it doesn't know who you are, because you've probably not told it that you're a housing officer in this case, and that it's a report for your CEOs, and it's about, well, it probably can read what it's about, but what kind of things you're interested in seeing and drawing from it, which is just, it's all that inferred world. If I asked a team member to summarize a document for me, they know I'm interested in AI developments and the things within that I'm interested in, and that would, of course, automatically drive them. Copilot doesn't know that. So it's interesting so I was sort of sharing some of that stuff with them, and the importance of just giving it more context, which of course, we shouldn't miss the opportunity for the sales plug, that knowledge flow, the point of it is it's installed into your organization with your context, so it knows who you are, it knows what your values are, it knows what you do, it knows what you never do and never say, and your tone of voice. So that's all there. So now all of your staff using that platform, the consistency starts to align, and the amount of time that comms teams spend trying to get people to be consistent in writing, and it's just getting people to use the same font in an email, those kind of things is hard enough, let alone trying to get them to answer in the consistent way. So there you go. Yeah, knowledge flow wins again when I compare it to Copilot on that level.
Good. Well, we've had a couple of other wins this week, so we've got another exciting. We've got another council a social care customer coming on board, which is fabulous. And interesting enough, we just got last night confirmation. Actually, no, it was Thursday. It must have been Wednesday night, wasn't it? That we got confirmation that a trade body is going to procure knowledge flow to serve policy buddy effectively to 10 of their organisations, possibly up to 15, which is absolutely fantastic, because that means that there's going to be a whole host of organisations sharing the same knowledge, being able to collaborate across different organisations, being able to share to improve services. So I'm really chuffed with that one. Hopefully once it's up and running we can announce it properly, but in the meantime, to get a group like that across such a broad geographical area is just fantastic.
And I think that exactly what you said about people using the same data, learning together, innovating together. The tool itself will have the audit trails of everything happening, so that we'll be able to help with the insights from across 10 different teams using it. I think that's a really interesting angle, and I've pitched it to a college last week. They do a thing with Freeports in the UK, and there are 18 colleges in the Freeport group, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about that, and why that is important. But to be able to put one platform into all of them for their project work and for their the kind of summarising and the policy part of it, and whatever it is that they're up to, the curriculum and training, that will be part of the angle of what they're doing there. So to have one that you can drive with the kind of best version of the truth, really, and have everybody working from that, and of course at any point update it so that you're now moving with the latest version of the truth, having learned something new. I was listening to a podcast on the way down on the train today about robots in factories, and what happens if you're using AI with robots in factories. When one learns to do something new, they instantly all know how to do that thing. And you think about the power of how fast you can innovate with a model where you don't now have to train everybody to, and it's not quite that, is it, in the land of colleges? But the idea that we've got a better way of doing this thing, so let's get it into the AI tool, so everybody you asking the AI about it's going to get that already sort of baked in. That strikes me as a very interesting world, and one where public sector, our background of driving national change programs, helping design and manage national change programs. Imagine giving everybody, if you could, 150 local authorities, each their kind of platform for this project, with everything you need to know in there, the guidance in there, best practices, already ready out the box to not just read, which is the usual way, go to our website and repository, but ask it to create your summary for your local stakeholder meeting to talk about this thing, and it will do it the very best of its knowledge and feedback from everyone else's experience doing the same thing.
Brilliant. Can you imagine using something like that on the Every Child Matters program back in the day? It would have been tremendous.
Yeah. And then the richness of insights. I mean, again, if you think about Every Child Matters and the outcomes framework and that tremendous piece of work that you led, is if you could start tracking how people were using a tool, you could create, or at least you couldn't create, but you'd have a really good sort of starting point for something like an outcomes framework just because the amount of things you'd see when someone's trying to measure themselves against these criteria under the CQC regulations, and how that aligns with maybe what Ofsted are asking over here, and all that stuff, which is, the outcomes framework really tried to grapple with. Very interesting.
Yeah. Just for the record, I was a humble servant in the Every Child Matters. I wasn't the leader of it. I couldn't possibly take any plaudits or credits. It was very much a very big team effort. So I just happened to be part of it. So I'm very proud. It's the thing I'm most proud of in my career. So I'm leading AI, of course.
Oh wow!
It's the best job I've ever
had. Oh, it's very cool. Yeah. Right. What else is on your list? I've got to do over this weekend is change the bank password for one of our. I won't name the bank because I don't want to be hacked. But so every 3 months they force a password change, and if I don't do it, then I'll get locked out completely, and that creates aggro for the finance team. I have to then go and so I've got to change it. But guess what? You have to have one of those long, strong passwords with whatever different characters. But it will not allow copy and paste in the field. It's the only one I've ever known that doesn't. So you can't. So you got to type out this thing, then type it again to confirm it, all at a time, and then when you hit enter, invariably it says no, you didn't put enough special characters in, or there is, or actually it is. It's got a special character, you're not allowed that, or whatever. And you're just like, oh, for God's sake! And you go through. It normally takes me 3 goes, and I normally swear a hell of a lot and hate that bank. So
maybe you should just put swear words in and then some special characters at the end.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
you'd remember it then.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's too much profanity in your password, Mr. White.
Yeah, profanity filter. See what goes off. There'll be a red alert happening somewhere. We've had that. Yeah. Did I mention we've had that happening in one of our housing clients? Is the content filtering is stopping the response halfway through, so they're using it for an email response, and it might be quite a challenging thing, and then the content filters stop it, and so we've had a couple of thumbs down responses going, what's going on here? It just stops, and then you kind of have a quick look at what they've sent, and it finishes with like something. I won't share any detail, but it finishes with something you're like, oh, I can see exactly what's happening. It got to that word, and they went, I'm not carrying on. So we had to have a conversation I'm meeting them next week, and I need to talk to them about whether they want us to remove the guardrails. Obviously, their decision. The downside of that is then for all of the tools and any use within the organisation, it won't have that kind of sort of really big last safety net, really. So it's not.
So is that a member of staff putting rude words in, or is it because a tenant has put a rude word into their email?
So it's an email. It's actually the subject of the email. It's not a rude word. It's just like what it is talking about is in the world that it's going. No, I'm not having that. I'm not talking back to you about that. So, so I think we're going to have to lift them on it, and we can put some guardrails into knowledge flow itself to protect against other things. I think, but it is ultimately their decision. They need to decide. Obviously, it's a governance decision, not a leading AI decision.
No, it's interesting, that whole kind of governance thing, isn't it? And people, it's a like when people say, "Oh, this policies buddy's great. How's it going to keep policies up to date?" And you say, "Well, how do you keep it up to date now?" And they were like, "Oh, well, we don't really." Well, hang on a sec, isn't that a problem? So you do need to keep them up to date. And creating SharePoint hoovers to hoover up the latest versions of documents, which is a great tool. I love the fact that we've got. I just imagine some kind of big pipe where we're just sucking out all of the the files into
wherever you put in that folder gets hoovered in. Yeah.
But yeah, what was going through my head was the redaction piece in the safeguarding tool, and I wonder whether there's something along those lines where if there is a subject matter or a profanity or whatever else in the incoming, because of course the organisation have got no control over the inbound communication, but I do wonder whether in Donald's spare 30 seconds that he's got between 2 a.m. and
exactly. I know. Well, our safeguarding filters already would pick it up, which is the thing I've said in my note ready to send to this housing association, so they can think about it ahead of me talking to them. But our safeguarding filters will flag it and make it or show it up as critical, I'm sure, if it's being blocked at the moment. So we would still know. It's just the safeguarding filters don't stop you doing it. They just alert someone to the fact it is happening. Yeah. So you got some level of governance over it. But yeah, it's one of those interesting areas, really. And particularly, I mean, I remember with one of our health sector clients who were doing research into suicide, and they were not getting anywhere. And that was, again, it was content filtering was blocking their responses. So we did remove them for that. But that's an internal research use case, kind of much easier. Whereas one that's a more general tool across the whole organisation, you think about it.
Oh, well, good that the sentiment analysis tool is picking up the thumbs downs and flagging those, so we can pick up on them.
Yeah, we get all that, and that leads into what I know we're over time, so we should stop it. But do you remember Wilco van Ginkel?
Oh, of course I do.
It's a name you wouldn't forget very often, is it? Wilco van Ginkel is a Gartner, one of the senior vice presidents. They've got a lot of job titles. Anyway, he's very, very knowledgeable in our world. And I saw him speaking last year at Gartner Data Analytics.
Very engaging.
And he's back this year.
He is.
So I want to try and get some time with him. He's running a session with an Ask the Expert session on them. And the thing he's just been researching is the thing that we are looking at right now is observability and testing, which is or evaluation, as he was very clear in his paper, is that you can't test AI's output like you could test a calculator's output, because that's deterministic and you can tell if it's wrong. Whereas testing an AI's output is much more akin to marking an essay, where you've got to bring some judgment to it and work out, whether it's right or wrong that way. So we're, as you know, grappling with that right now, with how do we build that so it's live all the time, kind of, because his other point in the paper, which is what we've been talking about, so it's nice to think we're up to date with what Wilco van Ginkel's working on.
We're up to him though, crikey.
Exactly, but it's not enough to test and release, because it's not deterministic and model drift happens, and so you need to be doing it live all the time. And that's what I've, as you know, got the team thinking about, is that how do we pick out 1 in 10 prompts, 1 in 100 prompts, whatever it is, and run it through some observability. And the thing with observability in RAG is it's not as simple as here's the answer, is it right? You need to be able to look at the retrieval step, and then you need to be able to look, and indeed potentially chunking and embeddings prior to that, but certainly the retrieval, and then the LLM's kind of reconstructing of the response. So interesting. So anyway, Wilco van Ginkel, if you're listening,
watch out. yeah,
I'm coming for you again.
Hilarious.
Yeah, brace yourself.
You should doorstep him again. Yeah, when he sees you come in, he'll be, oh, not you again. I remember you from last year. And just another question, Wilco. Just one more thing. But he was really good. I mean, he helped get us onto things like chunking strategies, didn't he? Last year, he was super good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, putting NER into CV search so that it picks up. One of the things with that is embeddings on names and weird things. It's very difficult. That AI doesn't really know what to do with it, because it's not, 13 Acacia Avenue. Actually, that probably would go, because it's that name is. But if it was a totally unusual name, that when it goes to the embeddings process, it's just like, I don't know where to put this in the vector database, so it's random. So NER is the solution to that, and it has worked very well for that. And that was Wilco van Ginkel. So there you go. Right. And not a name I say very often, but it's a fun name to say.
You're going to be saying it for the next few weeks, because we're going to see him in 2 weeks' time.
Very excited. It's almost like going to see the Killers live, the Gartner Data Analytics. What has become of my life? But it's not quite up there with Glastonbury, but it's close.
It's the Glastonbury of the AI world.
It is.
Crikey, we're getting old, Kieron.
Well.
Right. On that note, have you got anything else, or are you done?
No. Well, I do lots of things, but we should wrap up. We've been rambling on, as we like to do. I have been anyway. You've been making lots of good. I do want to say a shout out to your local clock manufacturer, though. I'm sure he'd rather think of himself as something else.
Will. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Will. Yes, Will Scobie Youngs. He's a lovely young man, and they're actually leaving. The Cumbria Clock Company used to live next door to us, and they actually repaired Big Ben, which is part of their claim to fame.
I thought it was a secret.
Well, it's all fixed now and it's back in, so it doesn't matter. So it's all
Okay.
it's all sorted, and they do all sorts of those big clock stuff. The premier horologists in that sector. So I'll be really sorry to see them go. They are really good fun. The best guy though is Keith, who started the company with his wife Lynn. They are a lovely couple, but Keith is the master clockmaker, but he looks like a pirate because he's got this little goatee white beard and he's got the curly mustache. Yeah. But he has to wear an eye patch because he gets pain in his eye, so he looks like a proper pirate. But then when he gets his master clockmaker gown, he just looks absolutely awesome, and he's just a lovely chap to go for a beer with, and. He's full of all sorts of random stories, but I'll be sorry to see the clock company go.
Maybe we could get him on as a guest before they.
Maybe we should, yeah, because they're big into AI.
I can imagine, yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah, hilarious. Right, on that note, fella, you enjoy your weekend, and I will catch you next week.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Nice to see you, mate. Take care. Bye.